Hey, we're doing a podcast now, and we're calling it Democracy Dogs. If you've seen the dogs around and heard them come through the dog door, we got dogs, and they come to events with us, and people love them, and they say it's great that they're fighting for democracy. And I just said one time, hey, that's because they're democracy dogs. And we have all kinds of buttons and such that we do to promote it for our congressional campaign. So we've got a lot of things to talk about. I'm Rob Strickler. I'm running for Congress as a Democrat in 2026 to unseat Brian Fitzpatrick. The guy's been in office way too long. This is Brian Kampf. He's one of our super volunteers. He's out there on social media. He's walked turf with me, knocked on doors, and done all kinds of great things. Brian, could you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Brian Kampf. I am a teacher. I am a resident of Bucks County. I lived here for most of my life. Basically, after the Ukraine fiasco, I called Brian Fitzpatrick and complained about the way Donald Trump treated Zelensky in the office. At that point, I started reaching out and finding out, and I started talking to Rob here on Facebook. After that, we developed communications and a relationship that led to, I want to volunteer for this man because he says what's on my mind and frequently. And I do believe that he can make a change and a positive one.
He and Brian, I assume you're referring to the Ukraine fiasco, what happened in the Oval Office
Yes.
when J.D. Vance and Trump and that reporter just basically ambushed the guy.
Yes.
You know, complain, well, can't you wear a suit in the Oval Office? I mean, the guy wears what he wears in solidarity with his soldiers. And you're right. I was ashamed of the government that day.
And I called my congressman for the first time in my life, and I've been, both sides of the aisle and everything, but this time the Republican Party in my mind has gone too far. And I am a history person. I do have a degree in history, so I do follow it. And knowing my history, it does reminisce a lot of what was going on in Europe in the 1930s.
Speaking of which, I know you've been following it, but what's going on in Minnesota and Minneapolis, it's horrific. It's just horrific. I was at an Ice Out event last night, and a woman got up and read an email from her pastor who lives here in Doylestown and was talking about what the people are going through over there. It's like Londoners during the Blitz. They have underground networks of midwives to help pregnant women deliver babies because they're afraid to go to the hospital or just go out in public, basically. This is in America, everybody. Brian just told me this morning, apparently another person has been shot by ICE in Minneapolis.
Tin soldiers and Nixon coming, we're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming, for dead in Ohio. What? For dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio. How many more? For dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio.
And I think the most outrageous thing of all this is that a woman got shot in the face, and Renee Good was her name. And the fact is that they started investigating her wife and not the officer that shot her. Not just on the wife, but on this officer. And
they called her a terrorist.
Yes. And now
J.D. Vance called her a terrorist.
And now if you tape somebody, ICE is calling you a domestic terrorist for taping them. They're on record for saying that. They got a database.
I literally saw a video where an ICE agent recorded somebody who was recording him, said, and now you're in our database.
Yes.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
So I sit there and I watch this, and I know, some of the mainstream media doesn't report it and everything because it is a lot. They can pick and choose. But when you see what's going out there from the people on the ground, it's scary. And I walk around with my passport and my driver's license on me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have my real ID.
I have my driver's license.
I have my real ID, and I have that, and I have everything. So I go around with it, and I go to my voting. I show I got my. You don't need it. I'm like, okay, good.
What I want to talk about today, beyond the abuses of ICE and Homeland Security, is the whole idea of this overall immigration policy by the Trump administration as being both cruel and stupid. We've already talked about some of the cruelty. Other examples are that little boy who was used like bait to go knock on the door of his parents' home to try and lure them outside. There was a little girl I saw a few weeks ago being held by ICE outside of the home where her parents lived, and ICE was telling them, well, come out and get your little girl. Come on, what's the problem? I mean, this is, God damn it, this is America. And these people, most of them are ill-trained. They're given big bonuses to come on board, to start arresting people so they can make a lot of money. They whip out their guns just because somebody yells at them. This is, I mean, it's no surprise that people are getting shot and killed. So the cruelty is there. And a lot of the people they're arresting, you know, if they're actual criminals committing crimes, yes, arrest them, deport them. But a lot of these people are working in construction, they're working in farming, in agriculture, they're working in hospitality or restaurants, they're working in elder care, in child care, and now they're not. They're being arrested, taken away from their families, and being deported. And it's a sin that this is happening, but it's stupid because we're hurting our own economy that way. These employers can't find people to fill in their positions, and these people pay taxes and into Social Security even though they don't get a benefit from it. And one last thing I'll say, Brian, and then you can say whatever you want, is we have a declining birth rate in this country. We're at 1.6. You need to be at least at 2.1 to sustain your population. We have an aging population. A lot of the people who they're deporting right now, they're having children. They have families. They're raising second generation, third generation people. And we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars to send them away. And at a time when our population is just not sustainable. What the hell sense does that make? As I say, cruel and stupid. Brian?
Yeah, it is cruel and stupid, and it hurt, like you said, hurts the economy. In fact, everything that you're saying there. I'll tell a personal story. As a teacher, I had a student, Brazilian. Father was here, did what he needed to do. Mother's here for 20 years, worked business and everything. First Trump administration, they scooped him up and they deported him back to Brazil. The mom was hopping between houses, trying to save, and her son was autistic. She had 2 other children with her and everything. The ultimatum they were ultimately given was that, yes, your children are born here, they're American citizens, but you are not. So you and your husband can go back to Brazil, leave your children here, they can go to foster care. This is from the guidance counselor, mind you, that was telling me this. Or you take everybody back and give up your citizenship. That was the ultimatum that was given there. Well, they fought it. The lawyers, thankfully, they got back in. They got the father back in and everything else. But now I don't even know like what happened. But that's just one family that got lucky.
And doesn't it sicken you that is happening here? I
Yes.
mean, we've had a lot of problems in this country. We're not perfect, but my God, we were never this cruel before. Not before 2025. It was never like this, and it just seems like it's getting worse. Like Danny Seisler, who was just elected sheriff, he had a press conference the other day where he was announcing he was dissolving that agreement that his predecessor had with ICE, and he made some excellent points. People who are afraid of the police now because of ICE, they're not reporting crimes that they see. So therefore, it makes local law enforcement harder when you allow ICE to go marching around your neighborhoods.
And when we went canvassing, remember the one family? They wouldn't open the door. They were
Right.
going through the window because they were fearful. And to have that fear populate in Bucks County, of all places.
Yeah, I think that's a large part of it is that they want people to be fearful. You know, they want to instill the fear in the population. You may have seen this, Brian. A week or a couple times, 2 weeks ago, I proposed to Governor Shapiro. I called his office a few times and sent an email asking him to reactivate the Pennsylvania State Guard. Now, to be clear, that is not the National Guard. The National Guard is something that can come under the control of the federal government. The Pennsylvania State Guard, like the California State Guard and the Texas State Guard, which are active, is solely under the state of Pennsylvania's control, under the governor's control. I want him to do that and to publicly announce that he's reactivating the State Guard to demonstrate a couple things. One is that we are preparing to deal with ICE. And I see ICE not just installing the fear that we've been talking about, but we have to look ahead to where things were going to end up. And I believe ICE is pretty much being cultivated as a private army that will, when it comes election time, they'll be lurking around polling places, intimidating people, maybe not surrounding them, but just hanging out. And I want to have a robust Pennsylvania State Guard that can move them out of the way if it comes to that. I'm not looking for armed conflict. What I'm hoping that the governor will do is announce, I'm reactivating the State Guard in preparation for this. And I encourage all other governors to do the same, at least the governors of blue states. And if over time we feel like we need to actually enlist people in the Guard and regulate them, as the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state, then so be it. Again, hopefully as a deterrence. Hopefully, wiser minds in Washington will finally realize the wreckage, the damage that this guy in the Oval Office is doing. I believe that if enough governors do this, hopefully that will help us turn the tide, because there's no guarantee that we're going to have a free and fair election in November.
Listen, I think they talked about Biden's decline and everything else, so I think it's fair game to talk about Trump's decline, because one side, it's fair, and we see a decline on that, and I think we can all see that, and somebody needs to be an adult in a room with him, and I don't see that happening with the adults that are around him. And
No.
he has yes men around him.
The criteria for people in this cabinet was being loyal to Donald Trump, being willing to lie for Donald Trump. They're a bunch of flattering sycophants. So what?
She's licking.
So what?
It's going to show up on the mic.
That's fine.
That's all right. we were
Anyway, that was my wife, Sue. She's interfering with our talk about democracy here, because I think she's like a secret. I don't know what she is.
She's our video person. Come on.
That you raise a good point, and we'll just kind of end this segment here. When Biden was president, the press and the media and the Republicans and whoever talked about his mental fitness to run for office again.
Yes.
It was justifiable. It was righteous. And the Democrats made a huge mistake, because nobody went to Joe Biden in like 2023 and said, Joe, thank you for what you did in 2020. It was a tremendous service you did for this country, but please, we need you to drop out so we can have a full, robust primary process. We can get all the best people running on the Democratic side, and that'll help us, win the seat back. But he didn't. So my point is, the press rightfully covered Biden, and we saw in that debate with Trump that just underlined in red marker that everything that people thought was true. Ever since Donald Trump has been in office, his constant lying, the guy has lied all his life. He has no credibility. That should also be covered by the news.
Yes.
It's usually just sort of an offhand remark. Well, today Donald Trump said, goats are on the moon, and they said, well, there's no evidence of that. No, you should say, there should be a news segment on how Donald Trump lies and how it affects his ability to be a proper president for this country. Dwight Eisenhower once said, the trust of the American people is the most important power a president has. If he loses that, he's lost his greatest strength.
Well,
and the press should be covering both Donald Trump's lying and now, I think, his mental decline.
Unfortunately, I think the press, a lot of it's been bought and paid for.
That's another problem.
They've been bought and paid for. The
And
MS
that
now.
and that's something that has to change too.
Yep.
We have to have an independent media. We can't have corporate ownership of news organizations because it's so easy for the government to influence that, threaten a merger, things like that, regulations. Did you want to do some kind of rapid fire thing?
Oh, do you want?
If you'd like to, if you have questions.
Do you want to put them on? This is on record. You can also edit about.
I mean, you
so
can do whatever you want with them, but you just want a yes or no answer. All right, stop swiveling.
I like this. You should give me a swivel chair.
You have a new nickname.
Swivel.
Swiveler.
Okay. All right, Rob. This next segment is called On the Record. Politicians hate yes/no questions. If they get buttoned down, they get told yes, no, they try to weasel their way out of it. Okay? It's always been a politician's thing, but this is kind of a challenge for any politician. So
Fair enough.
I'm going to come up with 5 questions. And mind you, I don't have anything written down. I have a couple things in my head here. But I have 5 questions, just yes, no. And then afterwards, if you'd like to elaborate, we'll give it time to elaborate. So I don't want to be a gotcha, but I just want you on the record for where you stand, and simple for other people to say, where you at?
Yeah,
So
you're sounding like a politician with all these words, but
I know,
go ahead.
I know. First question. If elected, would you hold the Trump administration accountable through impeachment?
Yes.
Second question. Would you fund ICE?
No.
Third question. Would you fund drug rehabs in Bucks County to help not only drug but mental health?
Yes.
Number 4, would you support Ukraine?
Yes.
And number 5, what is your favorite sports team?
Eagles.
There you go.
They were supposed to be yes and no.
Okay, I know. I know, screwed up. We could edit that last one. Number 5, is your favorite sports team the Eagles?
Yes.
There you go. We could edit that.
All right. Well, that's enough for today. Thanks, Brian, for being on the show. Thanks, Nessie, for joining us. Do you have any yes or no questions you want to ask, or no? Just one's dinner. Okay. So look for more podcasts. We're going to be doing more of this, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.